Morning all. How are we all doing? Everybody have a good weekend? Few gaps this morning to have a look at. I'll wait for a couple more people to turn up and see how it all happened this weekend. Morning Rahat, morning Peter, morning Nyasha, Michael. Dixie's trying to fill the Dixie's trying to fill the gap. Dax is trying to fill the gap. Everything's trying to fill the gap. Whether or not it's going to make it, don't know. But they're having a good crack at it. So, difficult one to tell whether it's going to actually happen today. But we will see. Morning, Diamond. Happy Monday, Andy. Meeting a little bit of resistance at the moment where we are, but it's struggling along. Frankfurt's open now, so's London, so we'll get a flurry of orders coming through at the moment. Morning, Harry. Maduva, morning. Monday blues, hopefully not. Right. So, obviously weekend. We'll start off looking at the news, what we got coming up this week. Have a look at the COT report, and obviously a little recap on what's happened over the weekend, and see what impact that's had basically across the markets. It's the last day of the month today. I think we probably had most of our end of month movement last week, but I'm not even sure if the end of month movement actually happened, because obviously there's a lot going on at the moment with Russia. So I'm not actually sure exactly what the banks and the institutions will have done with their books towards the end of this month, as to whether they needed to do any large positioning. But you can't tell the difference at the moment with what's going on in the market. When there's movement, you have no idea what's actually causing that movement at the minute. So it's just a case of movement is movement. I think it's all you can kind of take from what's going on at the moment. Morning, Aseni. Let's start off with obviously gaps and everything. So Dixie obviously gapped up. Fair gap, sort of an ADR basically. We gapped up an ADR. It's trying to fill the gap. Not sure whether it's going to or not. So it's a bit of a risky gap play. We didn't get the gap fill from Wednesday to Thursday, and they tried to obviously get back down there, but kind of got into this support area and gapped up. So whether or not they're going to come down and fill that today, impossible to tell. It's a 50-50 shot. It's worth a go if you want to go for it. Worst case scenario is whenever you're doing gap fills, you're always using a stop. So go for it. The risk reward on this is not bad. If you get in right now, it's worth a go, isn't it? So we'll see. But the money's come in for the US dollar. The same for the S&P. I've been playing the S&P on my futures account this morning. I've banked about $400 on... No, hang on. No, I've banked $270. I've got $60 running. So I'm playing the gap fill long on the S&P. I'm about to get stopped out on that very, very soon. My stop is here, just under this gap. So I'm either going to get stopped out in that final position, which will be about 300 banked, or not. And if I'm just letting this run a go, basically, see if it can get up there. Same with the DAX, playing DAX fill long, going for it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's all you can do with these gap fills, really. They're either going to work or they're not today. Very difficult to tell. So yeah, have a go at them. That's all you can do. Commitment of Traders report. Let's start there. No change on directional bias anywhere at the moment, which is nice, which means I don't have to muck about my EAs. US dollar, pretty much the same. Bear in mind, these are Friday's release, and these are the figures from Tuesday last week. Okay, so this is what happened on Tuesday last week. Putin had not gone in to the Ukraine when these figures were recorded. So this is pre-war we're seeing here. On Friday this week, we will see the post-war positioning, and I should imagine this is going to be quite dramatically different. So this week, I would discount this. Kind of at the moment, I think you've just got to throw everything out the window. Just been stopped out on that S&P. That's nice. $316 bank this morning. Very nice. So you just got to basically throw everything out the window at the moment. Futures bias is going to be completely irrelevant. There will be an awful lot of hedging going on at the moment with currencies, because obviously the ruble has collapsed about 30%. So there will be a lot of hedging going on in the Forex world, with positioning changing dramatically, I would imagine. So this is all kind of out the window. I think this is out the window for the next month or so, really, because I don't think we can trust anything that this says. So at the moment, I think just ignore the cock bias, and you have to assume that the likelihood is of the yen, the Swiss, and the US dollar being longs, and everything else being a short against those. But with all the other currencies out there, obviously they can move independently and do what they like. So I think technicals is really what you need to be concentrating on at the moment. RSI extensions on the US dollar, the yen, and the Swissy, I'd probably be less inclined to trust. But this, on the other currencies, I don't think there's a problem, because they're kind of at the moment trading as normal. But every currency is going to be affected by this, because we've locked out Russia from the Swiss banking system now, from the SWIFT banking system. So that has an impact on everybody. Everybody that's doing any kind of transactions with Russia is going to be affected financially. So it's going to hit every single economy and affect every single currency. How difficult that's going to become, we don't know. This is kind of a little bit of an unprecedented event, isn't it? Seem to be using that word an awful lot over the last couple of years, but that's what's happening. So that's COP. Not a lot of point in really going through that in any real detail. But there is movement. The movement was pretty much as expected, so we can ignore that one. This week, we have got nothing much today. We got PMI this afternoon. That does sometimes have a good impact on the US dollar. We get a little bit of movement off of that, so that's worth keeping an eye on. And it happens just after the open as well. So we'll probably find we have quiet open in New York today while they're waiting for the PMI figures to come out, and then we'll get some movement. So we might find a little bit of a sideways open at New York, but we'll see what happens there. Tomorrow morning, we've got the rates for the Aussie. Ordinarily, I would say that's going to have a negative impact on the Aussie. At the moment, I haven't got a clue what impact that's going to have, but the rates are not forecast to change in any way, shape or form. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's obviously 3:30 tomorrow morning. We've got Canadian GDP tomorrow afternoon. We've also got manufacturing PMI as well for the US dollar. So very big news day tomorrow. Obviously, this week's non-farm as well. So Aussie dollar GDP the following day. So it's all about the Aussie dollar overnight in the Asian session. Expected to go up. If that isn't as expected, we can have a fairly decent impact on the Aussie. I'm hoping negative. Not for a horrible way, but obviously I've got an Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar short on at the minute, so I want that to go down. Aussie dollar, I would expect that to be negative based on COT bias. Which is typically what happens. If things come out as expected, it tends to move in the direction of the COT bias, which is negative. So we should see a short on that if this all comes out as expected. GDP, same sort of thing. Then we've got OPEC all day, starting on Wednesday. Oil and stuff is anything to do with oil at the minute is just going to be a bit up in the air. So no idea what sort of impact we're going to get with anything to do with oil releases and that this week, but we'll see. We've got non-farm employment change on Wednesday. We've got Bullard speaking in the afternoon, and then we've got the Canadian rates on Wednesday as well. So again, massive movement potentially there on the CAD. The CAD is expected to rise. Therefore, if the CAD does pump, we should see a drop in the Canadian dollar. So again, lots and lots of news on Wednesday. Very, 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 very busy week this week. Thursday, we then move over to ISM. The services PMIs in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, and we've got Powell. And then following that, we've got Macklem. So again, talking heads and PMIs on Thursday afternoon after market open, and then Friday's non-farm payroll. So every single day this week, we've got massive market moving events happening, as well as the Russian war and the threat of nuclear war and the banking system being completely changed and God knows what else. So just hold on to your hats basically this week. There's going to be a lot of movement. So we're going to see some very big ADR moves, I would imagine, this week. What sort of impact this is all going to have on the markets as a whole is difficult to sort of forecast. So, looking at the dailies on the indices, we were looking like we were putting in a beautiful pullback and ready to take shorts across everything today was my plan at the New York Open, and looking at the DAX basically and the indices for shorts potentially during London as well. We've gapped down to such an extent, I really haven't got a clue what to do with this thing. It's already moved what the trades that I would look to be playing today. So we've had a bit of a push up, and it's not looking particularly healthy, is it? We've got strong closed candles, obviously, at the open, and we're not getting anywhere near this gap at the minute. So market structure at the minute is potentially still going for that gap, but who knows? It literally is a flip a coin at the minute. So all the indices have gapped down dramatically. Ordinarily, we'd be playing the gap fills on them, and that's what I'm trying to play, assuming it's going to be business as usual and then a collapse. But I'm not even sure we're going to get these gaps filled. So we'll have to see what happens. I've got a couple of trades on at the moment. As I say, I've traded the S&P already this morning and banked that. So that I'm kind of done on the futures this morning. I've got one running on the DAX long, which I'm not going to let get too far into drawdown before I close that out. So it's either going to work or not, and I'm not planning to really trade this morning because I can't really decide which directional bias is going to be on it. So I'd like to see today the indices manage to have a decent London session and at least put some part-way gap fill in, which is basically what we got. If you look at the DAX last week, we've done this gap fill now that we didn't manage to get completed from previous. So this was Thursday's one, wasn't it? Yeah. So we tried really hard to get up there. And it didn't look like it was going to make it, and it then obviously made it, and now we've got this new one. So the potential this next couple of days is to just sort of have a slow grind up to try and get this gap fill done. It's rare that they don't get filled, but with what's going on at the moment, I don't know whether it's going to happen. So, at the moment, I'm looking for stops under here. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out, and if it comes up and does it, it does it. There's nothing you can do about it, but I'm hoping we're just going to sort of have a little bit of a pullback and a gradual grind up to there, which I can hold until it's completed. So we will see what happens on those. Right, so that's the news. So yeah, very, 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 very busy week for news this week. I've got the EA basically. I closed everything Friday. To obviously just to be a little bit wary of gaps. I closed everything I could close. So you can see on Friday, I closed a bit out. I closed 0.19 out on Friday. At the moment, I've got a lot of open positions, mainly pound-based longs, which are not doing too bad on the COT bias account. What I'm planning to do today is with this account is get this to a point where I can close it out, and then I'm going to turn this off because I don't think the COT bias is going to have the blindest bit of difference over the next few weeks. So there's no point in running the EA based on COT bias because I don't think it exists anymore at the moment. So I'm going to shut this one down and just run the normal three strategies. So H1, I've got one position on pound US dollar. I didn't get a chance to close that one out on Friday because it was in drawdown, but I closed out everything else, and I didn't have anything else open on that one actually. H4M15, I closed out bits and pieces on Friday. So you can see I just closed out anything that was in profit and anything that was in tiny loss, under 0.25% basically. I closed out everything sub 0.25%. So I've just got the £1 New Zealand, which is running at a 0.25% drawdown on H4M15. and trends pullback. I've got a pound New Zealand running in 0.5%. And again on Friday, I closed out everything that was in profit or 0.25%. So I banked about 1% on Friday. So not too bad, but I'm going to get hopefully on top of this one today and shut this one down because I don't want to overexpose at the minute. And as I say, the COT report, I don't really think there's a lot of point in paying much attention to it at present. So, but if you want to carry on using it as a bias, that's fine. The problem with the COT report is, as you know, it's a week delayed. So what we're seeing at the minute is pre-Russian invasion. I've no idea what the futures market loaded or unloaded after he went in, and we're not going to find out until Friday. So, we can't really do much about that, can we? Right. So that's an overview of where we are at the moment. US dollar is still pushing. If US dollar does do that and doesn't want to do this gap fill today, the indices will likely come down straight away from where they are. The S&P certainly isn't looking particularly healthy at the moment. If you look at them on a... it's not doing too bad. Futures actually looks worse. That's 5 minute, that's why. Yeah, so we're at a kind of a critical point here where we moved up this morning. This is either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, I would be more inclined to look at that today. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on those. Right, so this morning, ADRs. I've got something I need to run past you all today as well. For the live rooms. I'm thinking of changing the live room format slightly to different times, which I'll go through in a minute. But right, ADRs. Again, ADRs this week, you take these with a pinch of salt a little bit. If you're not from England, just don't play too much. You probably don't know what pinch of salt means. I don't know if that's English or not. But anyway, just don't pay too much attention to the ADRs at the moment. Obviously, with what's going on, we're going to get some quite dramatic moves on ADRs. I'm still, from my personal perspective, I'm still looking for opportunities to short the euro, long the US dollar, and short against the yen. Yeah. So those are my main biases. The Swiss franc, you can kind of play in any direction because I think we'll find the Swiss franc pumping as it usually does. I'm not quite sure what impact removing Russia from SWIFT is going to have on the Swiss banking system. But those are my main things that I'm kind of looking for opportunities on. Whether we'll get any opportunities to get into any US dollar longs is difficult to know. But those are my kind of main biases at the minute that I'm going to sort of play with at the moment. 8:30 is usually bad. Is it school drop-off for me? Yeah, okay, Adrian. Yeah, so I'm planning basically to move the live room forward, potentially, so that we can trade the Frankfurt Open. And obviously that starts at 8. So I might move it forward a little bit. But I'll put a little poll in and see what people's kind of availability is. But I trade the DAX Open at 8 o'clock anyway, so I might as well be on for that. And then we can all be finished and done by the time New York opens. Aussie dollar CAD. Let's hit ADR. Let me just zoom out a little bit. So Monday morning gaps. This is, to me, looking like a proper ADR. It's obviously done its gap fill today. We don't get many gaps on FX normally, but obviously today there's been a few. So that's done a gap fill. It is at a high. Aussie dollar is a short, COT bias. CAD is also a short. We've got loads and loads and loads of Australian dollar news, impactive news coming out this week as well. And if that is going to be as expected, we should see an Aussie dollar drop potentially. As I say, I've no idea what the COT bias is at the moment. We can't see it. So it could have flipped long for all I know over the last week. but I can only go on what we've got. So I'll be looking for short opportunities on the Aussie. So that's a nice little push to the upside there. It's not really extended on any time frames. We are sideways on this one. So it is kind of just an ADR play to the downside. You just kind of have to look at higher time frames on it really and just see where we think it's going. It's broken up same way as the New Zealand dollar has at the minute, and potentially putting in a continuation W pattern, and also potentially putting in an M-shaped reversal. So obviously we are at the moment in accumulation. Which way we're going to go after the accumulation is going to be decided tomorrow morning by the news. So today it's kind of one of those, I would imagine. So probably not the best ADR reversal to take. I would expect a drop on this one tomorrow. We've had a reversal alert. We've pushed down, we've put in a lower high. We haven't managed to put in a lower low, so we're basically contracting into a triangle ahead of, obviously, the next move. So difficult to tell which way that one's going to go, so I'll probably ignore that. Euro CAD, we've gapped down quite significantly on the euro. If we look at the euro pairs, they've all had... the euro New Zealand didn't gap. Oh, it did gap and it's filled already. So we've had quite significant gaps across the euros. Again, the same as the DAX. No idea if it's going to make it or not. I would suspect probably not. But can't really play an ADR on this one. It gapped to kind of ADR to a low and then pushed straight up into an ADR high. It had an ADR move immediately. It's virtually done it, isn't it? It's virtually done the gap. So potentially this is a really good looking short. Lovely tweezer tops with an equal high there. So potentially this is a short from here. Short on the euro. So that actually doesn't look too bad for an ADR reversal. That's probably the best one actually I think you're going to get today. So that looks pretty good for shorts. Where that's going, who knows at the minute. Certainly to test the lows. So you got a good 90 pips. You got an ADR. Potentially you got an ADR move in that today. This thing could just come straight back down again. Pound CAD pushed up, hit ADR. I'm long. Was long bias on the pound. I still am. I've got longs on the pound. It's had a couple of bad days, obviously, to do with what's happened with the war and the repositioning of funds, end of the month moves, everything. It's just basically pushed the pound down. So I would expect it to recover from this. There's no reason why it shouldn't. We haven't got any pound news this week at all. We've got Saunders speaking tomorrow, but that's it. There's no pound-based news, so there's no catalyst to move it this week. So what we're going to find is the pound will just trade as normal and it will get moved by whatever else you're trading against it. We have got obviously OPEC. And we've got Canadian rates on Wednesday. So this could well move massively on Wednesday. Again, with the Canadian rates, them going up, we would expect a drop in the CAD, which is going to pump this really hard. So I wouldn't want to be taking an ADR short on it. If it is, it's going to be short term back down into here, and then I'll be looking for long opportunities on that one. Longs. So that's all your ADRs. But again, this week I would kind of not try and scalp ADRs at the moment, just because you're just going to get so much movement. It's going to take one tweet about nuclear war to send the market into an absolute tiswas. So just have to take what you can. If you're getting into positions at the moment, like I did with the S&P, so I scalped the S&P this morning. What I'm tending to do at the moment, where did I get in? I get in on that big candle, which you can't see on this. 7 o'clock. Here, this one. So I got in on this candle here. And I scaled in again there. So I took two positions there and I took most of it off up here. and then I let a runner go. So with everything that I'm taking at the moment on lower time frames, I'm trying to get in with multiple positions and leave a runner, because you want to be able to benefit. If you get one of those moves where we get a news announcement and things just go crazy, you want to be able to benefit from that. So just try. I'm not particularly using TPs at the minute. I'm just literally leaving things open, because why not grab it if it's going to give it to you when it moves? So I'm looking for partials basically, and then runners. I think it's the best thing to do at the moment, because this market's going to be so volatile this week. You could get some massive movements. Unfortunately, I got stopped out of this one on this pullback below this high here. So I'm out with money, but you know, it's kind of the way to play it, I think, this week. So that's ADRs. Let's have a look at the 4 hours. DAX is still sideways. So 4 hours, we've got the Euro odd. I haven't put these in order yet. It should be at the top. Euro odd. It's obviously, this has been extended and embedded for the last week or so, and we've been looking at, you know, don't want to be longing this. Every time you get an opportunity to long it, you're literally getting the tiniest of pullbacks and then collapses, and the tiniest of pullbacks. If you get in right, these are get outable fairly easily and quickly. But it's timing them, knowing which one is going to be when is the one to get in on, which is, you know, very difficult to do. So for the foreseeable, looking for shorts. So that's not a good opportunity to get in long. The pound US dollar, again, pound is a long, US dollar's a long based on COT. At the moment, US dollar, I would say, is a much longer long than the pound will be. So I think the US dollar is probably going to be able to pump anything down. So again, not a great ADR reversal. The play was, RSI reversal. The play was on this spike. If anybody caught that last week, that was your trade, but very hard to get into that. So yeah, not great on H4. So there's no real opportunities at the moment. We've got some things which are getting close. Aussie New Zealand is in a lovely pullback at the minute. And it's just in fact, I need to get a position on that if I haven't got one. Let me just quickly check. I think I've got one on already, but I'm just going to check. Yeah, I have. So yeah, I've just got another one on the reversal that's just gone on there. That one took it in Asia. So I didn't. The EA did. So yeah, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. This is, I'm expecting, assuming everything is still kind of aligned in COT, I'm expecting a move down on the Australian dollar, either off of rates tomorrow morning or off of GDP on Wednesday morning. So that looks like a nice pullback. So it's a lovely 50 to 61.8 retracement on that initial down move based on New Zealand dollar strength. So now hopefully we're going to get the Aussie dollar weakness coupled with that, which will bring this one back down. It's well overdue. A very nice correction, as you can see. We haven't corrected back down to the 72 for such a long time, since end of November, beginning of December. So yeah, it's due. It's due a decent pullback on this move. Yeah, everything's the same. Yeah, everything is the same across all time frames. Measure the moves and look for where the pullbacks are going to come down to. We should be looking at, on this move, on this long-term investors view, we're looking for a pullback to the 38.50 or the 61.8, and then we're going to continue to the upside if they're going to continue in that direction. So what I'm playing at the moment is the pullback on the next leg. I'm expecting on the 4 hour. So that looks pretty good for shorts, but obviously it's not extended at the moment. It's kind of looking like it's getting there. So if you get an alert on that one coming up in the next day or so, I would say that's a nice looking short. Apart from that, we're kind of midline on everything. US dollar Swiss is close, but you don't want to be shorting US dollar Swiss, I don't think. So ignore that one. And US dollar yen. Again, US dollar yen and US dollar Swiss. These are very, very difficult to play, these pairs at the moment. You've got 3 safe haven currencies in those 2 pairs. Who knows? One of them's going to power up at one time and take the other one out. Then it's going to have a little rest, and the other one's going to power up and take it out. And you're going to get probably decent movement. So they're probably all very, very good to trade. But one thing goes wrong, one of these goes completely tonto and goes into a squeeze, and you're going to be in pain. So I'd just probably avoid them unless you're looking for long opportunities. So if they flag up as a short, like the US dollar yen's about to, I'd probably ignore it. Look at the hourlies, we're flat. There's no opportunities on the hourlies at the moment. So yeah, that's basically where we are at the minute. I don't know what's everybody doing at the minute. Has anybody got positions on, like position trading positions on, or are you all trying to scalp everything at the minute? I'm very happy to sit on my hands at the moment over, if I have to take 2 or 3 weeks off or trade very, very light for 2 or 3 weeks, I'm happy to do that. But I think lower time frame scalping is the way forward at the minute. Just because I don't think you can pick a direction. The only thing you can do is look at what is happening at the moment with pairs intraday and try and get out as fast as you can on things. Andy's flat, yeah. I think it's the best position to be in at the minute. As I say, with the EA, I'm going to get flat on the COT account today, I think, and just turn that one off. And then the others, I'm keeping my eye on them. It's a Friday. I closed a load of positions out on Friday. I don't do that normally. So pound and Aussie buy, or pound odd buy. Yeah, pound odd, still a good buy, I think. And the pound New Zealand. Pound odd more than the pound New Zealand. S&P's pumping again. Which means we might get some decent movement on the DAX. So I made an update on the EA, the price action toolkit EA at the weekend. I put it out in the group, and I've completed the manual. Finally. God, that took a long time. So that's done now. That manual. So I've put a link in the group to it. Yeah. So the price action toolkit manual. It's quite long. I like to document things accurately and tell you exactly what everything does, so everybody knows exactly what everything does. Nobody ever reads it, but at least it's there if you need to. So it gives you examples of all the candlestick patterns that and ways to ideally trade them as well. So it gives you loads of information in there about the price action toolkit and what stuff is doing basically, and what every setting does, just so you know how it all works. So that is online now, the manual. I haven't proofread it. I'm going to try and get time to do that today. But I added new candlestick patterns into it. Somebody, I can't remember who it was. Mike, who was it? Are you in here? But somebody showed me another candlestick pattern, which is good, which is logical, which is the... I haven't even got it on this one. Inventory retracement bar, the IRB. Got it here. I'll show you it. So the inventory retracement bar basically is a pullback basically within a down move. Yeah, so it's these candlesticks. So they're kind of like hammers and shooting stars, but you're looking for them to be in reverse and in line with the current trend. Yeah, so the IRB signal, and you basically get in when those are broken. They're good patterns. I have been aware of them, but I've never actually tried to trade them. And I got sent a link about them. They look like a really good price action candlestick to add. They're very reliable. But the thing to bear in mind with IRBs is the trend angle is the most important thing. These are inventory retracement bars, basically, is where you get absorption, in this case of by buyers, of the seller's orders, yeah, and we're expecting the sellers to step in. So all it is really is a sign of strength in the direction of the trend being absorbed by the buyers, and then the sellers regaining control. So it's basically an absorption break is another way to word it. And they work really well. So you basically, as soon as you see these IRB candles, you have pending orders underneath them. And then when the break happens, you wait for the next IRB, you scale in on each IRB until you've got your target. But this angle of attack is the important thing. 45 degrees minimum on your EMA. So all these IRB signals here you can see with a flat moving average, you don't trade any of that. Mark, it was, yeah, there you go. Sorry, I get sent so many, I should have looked that up, Mark, but I've archived you now in Telegram because I've dealt with you. It's a horrible thing, horrible way to say it, but I get so many DMs a day from so many people, and if I haven't, like Gary is sitting in my group unarchived at the moment because I haven't dealt with him, which was putting in end of day lines to have a look at those. So when I've dealt with you, you disappear, and then I can't remember who it was that said something to me. So I'm not being rude. Let's get along there, shall we? Looks good. Adrian, I have a long from 139.30 from last night. What on the DAX? Nice, very nice. How did you get in a 139.30? Oh, I suppose there was overnight trading before open. Yeah, I only get the DAX open. I only get the exchange open on my Robo accounts. On my Axie accounts, I get the full pre-market, but I don't pay much attention to it. How did you get in at that level? 139. Oh, what, from down here, I guess? Blimey, that's pretty much the lowest point. Good entry. Very good. I'm still letting the EA trade H4M15, currently in GA from Friday. Other that was looking for strong directional bias. Yeah, so if you're going to let the EA trade at the moment, I would ensure that you are. I'm thinking of turning off the trend pullback EA as well, and just trading mean reversion. But I would make sure you've got really, really strong RSI levels set up. So look at 75.25 and above, rather than 68.32. 68.32 is kind of, yeah, we are a bit extended. I would look for 75.25. Think of the dash. Don't get into anything unless it's there or above. Yeah, this is just extended. There's opportunities, as we saw, for this to get up to here, and we got up to there last week, didn't we? And potentially even the level we never speak of, that never happens. It could well be on the cards, couldn't it? So just make sure you're getting in at really, really strong extensions at the moment. Scalping on gold, been milking it since the early hours. Awesome. Looking for longs in the safe havens. Yeah. Thanks so much. Great work on the manual. I've read it already. Well done, Rahat. Somebody's read it. You won't be asking me any questions then. That's good. That's why I write these manuals, so that all the thousands of questions that get asked 100 times, they're all in there. EN, please. Right. You're in New Zealand. Let's have a quick look at that. This is the old version of the EA. I don't think that this. I haven't had a chance to load it up this morning. The latest version. So. S&P's pushing. It looks like we're going for the gap fills. Damn. Do I dare hit the long button on my futures account? I'm going for another one from futures. So my futures account at the moment I've got running on my tablet. I haven't got it on my PC at the minute. Well, I have got it on my PC, but I'm just taking trades on my futures. By the time I've booted it up, I'll have missed it. So, so it looks like potentially S&P is going for the gap fill, which potentially means the DAX might go for it as well. We'll see. There's definitely bullish signs going through at the moment. We've had massive M15 candle just put in there, just broken the highs. EN, Rahat, you want to look at? You're in New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, it's just short. Does seem to be struggling down here at the minute. Unsure. We're in an accumulation at the moment, so could get a little pop. It's this whole move here from that base breakout there, which we never came back and retested. It's very difficult to pick any kind of support resistance out of that. So I would say it's either going to break and continue to the downside from this accumulation where we are, or we're going to get some kind of pullback, potentially up to from a couple of weeks ago's lows. But I can't see it. I think we're probably still short on it. So break even 167768. Somewhere around there. Yeah, I mean, because you're in, well, that's not too bad of a break even, because you're in an accumulation. Right here where we are now is where you want to be looking for aggressive positions, I think. If we get back down to these lows, it'd be easy to see this on M15. If we get back down to these lows here, and you get any kind of rejection, that's where I'd do aggressive drawdown control to try and get yourself a really decent size on, so that you can get your average bought down within an ADR and try and get out. I'd just try and get out at the minute, especially longing the euro. 5 long positions you're on that one, yeah. So if you're 5 long, I'd say it's time to be doing aggressive drawdown control on that one. Especially with, I mean, the thing, I'm not quite sure how you got into this. Well, I'm pretty sure you got into it on an H4 extension, which is fine normally, but completely counter COT. COT bias is 100% long. We've been shorting the euro for about 6 months. Shouldn't really be taking longs on it. But if you get yourself into it, you have to dig yourself out of it. So look for the lows, and look for a triple bottom bounce, and look to get. I would try and get your average if you can, somewhere up in those highs. So if we continue to accumulate here, that gives you an out. ES moving nice. ES looking to fill the gap before it drops. Potentially, yeah. I don't know at the moment with these. I mean, this is the thing. Nobody knows at the moment what is going on. So it looks, I mean, technically it looks like a gap fill is being attempted. That's a hell of a gap to fill. I'm just going to stop out that one. As to whether, I just don't know whether it can do it. But if it does do it, and we do get up there today, and we get a gap fill in London, I'm pretty confident New York will be a down day. We'll have a potential green to red move put in, looking at on the daily. We got to get all the way back up there, which is basically doable. But it's quite a big ask, isn't it, in a market which is so unbelievably bearish at the minute. But we'll see. I've just taken another long on my futures, just with a $100 stop. I'm going for it. Today, possibly. Yeah, I mean, if it's going to fill that gap. But if you look at the DAX, is a good example of a gap fill not happening in a day, but it took 2 days, this one. So, no reason why it can't do exactly the same thing. Take 2 days on that one. S&P is going to be very much the same. Yeah, that one filled on the day. DAX took 2 days to do it. That one filled pretty much in a session. It's going for it, isn't it? So, yeah, looks good. Technically, everything looks great, but fundamentally, the world is in an absolute state at the minute. So, who knows? Right, so, excuse me. That's pretty much all I've got analysis this morning, because there's not really an awful lot from an RSI extension perspective. And to be honest, I'm not looking for RSI extensions as much at the minute, unless they're really, really, really extended and they're in line with where I think they're going to be going. So I'm not looking for longs on the euro. The pound, yes, but I'm not really looking to long stuff against the US dollar, so that's out. So yeah, it's just difficult at the moment. So what I'm planning to do potentially is move the live rooms around a little bit, and concentrate on opening range moves on the DAX. And obviously I trade the New York session anyway on the indices. So for the DAX, the moves tend to start at 7 o'clock in the morning. So when we get the obviously with my broker specifically, when the market opens, we get the 7 o'clock move, and then we're looking for gap fills. So there's one of two things basically happens with me in the mornings. I look at the DAX when it opens at 7 o'clock. If we've got a gap, I will tend to play the gap fill, and that gap fill will either work or it will usually move in my direction and I'll take a partial and get stopped out, a bit like I did with the S&P this morning. And then I play the opening range break at 8 o'clock, which is done on the 5 minute. So that was the opening range, and obviously the opening range hasn't done anything so far this morning. We haven't actually had a 5 minute opening range breakout at all yet. So that's when I kind of start playing those opening ranges at 8 o'clock. So I think 7 o'clock is too early to do the live room for most people. But 8 o'clock, or rather 10 to 8, is potentially a good time. I think I would like to start doing it. And what I'll be doing is doing the setups, and I can post obviously these early morning ones in the group, in the Telegram group. But live trade the open of the DAX. And then obviously do the analysis while we're watching what's going on with the DAX. So kind of just really bringing it forward about 45 minutes for the AM session. So maybe starting the AM session at about sort of 7:50, which gives us 10 minutes before to have a look at bits and pieces, and then trade the open, and then go from there. So that's kind of what I was thinking of doing. So only bringing it forward sort of 45 minutes, just got stopped out on that S&P long, unfortunately. And then afternoon session, we start at 2 o'clock. I'm thinking of potentially pulling that one back until 2:15, because we find obviously we don't necessarily have a lot to look at in the afternoon that is different from the morning. So we can whiz through basically everything in the afternoon and just look at what's different from the morning's analysis to the afternoon's analysis, and then obviously just trade the New York Open. So that's kind of what I'm planning to do. But I'll put a little poll in the group, in the Telegram group, and see what everybody's thoughts are on that. It also means we'll finish earlier as well. So, because I'm just going to be doing, I think, a lot more price action scalping at the moment, and just trying to do that. Yeah, 750's I think probably a good time. I'm just going to try and get into that S&P long. I'm just trying to get. I got stopped out. I was a bit close to my stop on that. I've just taken another long on the S&P here, with my stop just there. looking for them to find buyers here, basically. I'm looking for this gap here to be in accumulation. We just made a new high. So I'm looking for a 50% pullback on that move, maximum, to get a continuation move to fill this gap. And then I'm going to add another one at the top there. Let's bear with me a sec. Just open my Ninja. That's going to kick me out of that platform, isn't it? Don't think that's necessarily going to make a difference. Yeah, it does. Hang on. Sorry, no, I can't do this. It's getting kicked out of my other platform. I've got it running on an ATM strategy, so I need to be on that platform. Sorry, didn't think that one through. So yeah, so that's my plan anyway. For this morning, I'm just going to try and play these gaps and see if we can get these gaps filled, and if we can, that'll be fantastic, and that'll be me basically done for the day, really. But it's either going to work or not, and if it is going to work, it's going to be a very nice, lucrative trade this morning because we got a long way up there. I just need to get some positioning started and hope we don't get too many big pullbacks really today. So we'll see what happens. Nas, given D1 bullish reversal, are we turning bullish? I doubt it. There's no, I mean, until this, we've got to break highs, basically. So, yeah, I mean, if we can get above there, yeah, potentially. But at the moment, this market structure is absolute textbook. Short, bear market. So, yeah, no, be looking for shorts. Depends how long you're trading it for. If you're thinking intraday right now, yes, potentially looking for longs, but no, over the next month or so, I would say we're probably going to wipe half of the stock market off. Potentially. That's what the forecasts are, and with what's happening with Russia now, that's only going to compound this drop as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we're going to recover from here very quickly, but you never know. No idea. At the moment, I really don't know what is going on, and you can't really have any long-term bias, I don't think, because things can change so quickly. Putin stupidly lets off a 1 kiloton missile into the Ukraine. What happens next? If he starts losing this war and says, right, well, we're going to have to send a big one in, what's the rest of the world going to do? What's that going to have an impact on the stock market? At the minute, the technicals are completely out of the window. Cop bias is out the window. Technicals are out the window. Literally, you have to look at this thing. Where's it going right now? Let's take a chance that we can make a quick buck. That's really all you can do at the minute and ride the volatility, I think. So, ordinarily, I would say no. We're just in a pullback at the minute on the NAS. Yeah, so this is a perfect pullback. Yeah, we did Friday, we did the 50%. Potentially we could get to 61.8, which would be 24, and then drop from there. But that's the most I would give it, 61.8, before you see a down, because otherwise we're going to invalidate market structure. And then, yeah, but have you got any reason you can give me whatsoever why we should be positive about stock movements at the minute? BP just lost 16% of its value. It lost 16% shareholding in Russian oil, and basically just went, nope, you can have it. It's not good. I don't think there's going to be any positive news unless Elon Musk comes out and says, actually, Starlink wasn't a communication system. It was a laser beam, and any nuclear missile launched, I can squat it like a fly. If he comes out and says that, then we might see some tech stocks moving to the upside, mainly because Tesla will quadruple in price in a second. But apart from that, no, I can't see any reason why it's going up. It's even going down now. Look. Blimey. Right, so that's all I've got for you this morning. I put a little message in Telegram about the live room timings. So just let me know your opinions on that and what you think. It'd be good to know. There's not too many people that come in for the morning sessions. We tend to get more in New York, but there's always about sort of 20 to 30 people in here. So I will put a poll out and see what the general consensus is on it. So if you're in, I presume you're in the Telegram group, most of you anyway. If you're not in the Telegram group, come into the Telegram group. And maybe we'll start doing a little bit more early morning movement trading, which would be nice. And obviously using the price action toolkit basically, and price action, basically just do some scalping, which at the moment is the best way I think to make money. So, okay. Anything you need, let me know. I'll be in the Telegram group. I'll be on again at 2:00 this afternoon as normal. This morning, I was expecting builders to turn up, but they're not coming till tomorrow now. So tomorrow morning, I might not be able to do the live room. I'm going to see what happens, but they're apparently going to be here at the start of the day, which is really helpful because I have no idea what that means. But I've got a patio being laid, and they will be here tomorrow morning. So I might have to cut tomorrow morning short, but I will see what happens. I've not got a timing from them, but I will be here this afternoon anyway at 2:00. We'll look at what happens with the New York Open. Obviously, bear in mind of all this news we've got. Today is light. We've got PMI at 245, but the rest of this week is literally every session we've got something crazy happening. So apart from war, you're going to have a volatile week. So keep those stops fairly tight, and obviously keep a close eye on any positions that you've got running if you're position trading. And I would say, try and get as flat as you can, and just be very, very careful with them at the moment. All right. Okay, so I'll be back at 2:00 this afternoon as usual. We'll go through what's happened this morning. We'll get ready for the New York session, and then we'll go from there. Rahat, sorry, I just missed your comment. Mean reversion with cop bias direction changes required every week or whenever there is a change. Yes. Yeah, so with the cop bias, if you're running the EA in line with the cop bias, every week you need to change the directional bias. Any week there's a change, obviously. It's not often. If you look at the cop bias, yeah. So I haven't had to change the cop bias for a month. We haven't had a change in the cop bias. So the only time you will change it is if one of these flips long to short. And quite often I will usually give it a week as well, because you get those weeks where we have single flips, and they happen quite a lot. So I normally give it the week after, and if the week after it's remained flip the opposite direction, then I'll tend to move it. So, but obviously you'll find that sometimes you'll be in positions against cop bias now, and you have to let those play out. You've got to let those ones play out, obviously. So I do change that as and when, but I look at it every weekend, obviously, before I come on, and I'll change them Sunday night or Monday morning. So yeah. But at the moment, I just ignore it. That's why I'm looking to shut that EA down on the cop bias account, because I really don't know whether cot's got any impact at the minute. So better to be safe than sorry. All right. So have a good morning, everybody. I'll be back at 2:00. Anything you need, come in the Telegram group. I shall be in there. Have a good morning, and I will see you at 2:00.